Last week, when we were thinking and talking together, remember all the notes that I was taking about things that you were thinking and doing as readers, and I put those onto a chart here. So these are some of the things that we've been thinking about. You know, we use diagrams and photographs and other visuals to help us with the words and to help us to understand the ideas that were there. You guys had ways of figuring out the words by using other words and thinking about similar words and the visuals. And Maddie, there was the one that you shared with us about when you're trying to pronounce a word, looking for parts of the word that you know first, and then putting those parts together to say the word. And then this was something that, David, that you helped us with. Remember when we were talking in the salmon stream and how the salmon and the bear's life cycles began to overlap at some points? So you acted out how the visual worked, and then we sketched out some later on the book. So sometimes we sketch out or we act out our own visuals to help us understand the ideas. Have a book here for us to do some thinking and talking about, and really making sure today that when someone's sharing, you know how yet last week we were noticing how sometimes we got so involved in our own thinking that we weren't getting the ideas from other people. So today, just making sure when someone's sharing their thinking that you kind of park your idea off to the side and pay attention to that person's thinking, okay? And then we'll come back into our ideas. That's going to help us grow our thinking really big. All right? So a new book today called Animals in Danger, Orangutans.
Oh, I know about the orangutan.
Oh, talk to us. What do you already know there, David?
What I know about the orangutans are they're like apes because they're big like a human, and they sleep on the ground and they eat fruits.
Okay.
They only protect their young by staying in a group.
So you've got lots of thinking already. So take a couple moments and introduce this book to yourself. Go ahead, have a look through, introduce it to yourself. As you're looking through there, are there any things that are reminding you of things that you already know?
Yeah.
David began the moment he began to hear even the topic. Anything on there that looks familiar? Things that you might have already known some of?
Yeah. That they always had red hair.
So you're noticing some of the coloring?
Yep.
What it kind of reminds me of is that even though that their names are called orangutans, they're kind of like the same species as apes and monkeys.
Ah, okay. Are there any particular words that you're expecting that we might run across in this book about orangutans? Animals in danger, orangutans.
Extinct.
Thinking you might run across that? I'm going to jot some of your words down that you're thinking might be in there.
They're kinds of foods.
Okay.
Habitat.
Any other words you're expecting to run across in there?
Wild.
In the wild?
Yeah.
Endangered.
About their babies.
Okay, so maybe, what word do they often use in nonfiction to talk about the babies? Do you have any other words for them? Newborns.
Oh yeah. What was it?
Sometimes I know they'll use the word offspring. Let's go take a peek at the table of contents together and see what you notice about that. See what kinds of information the author's included. Now these are new books, so you may have to press them down a little bit.
It tells us about what do you call it again? It tells you where you can find it, in which chapter and which page.
Okay. What kind of information did our author include in his book or her book?
About the orangutans and what we're gonna be reading in the chapters.
What are they talking to us about? What information?
The orangutans are
So we get the first chapter tells us what they are.
Yeah, the next
And then where does it go in chapter 2?
About the
cutting down the
rainforest,
ring
yeah.
and captured and hunting.
Uh-huh.
Hunted.
It kind of like tells us what their predators are or who's hunting them.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, it just says like probably like what has to be done or something,
What makes you think that?
because it says what is being
where
done.
they gonna
What's being done, yeah. And see, do you notice how in the purple, it has the sort of the big idea that goes along with that chapter? What are orangutans? Why are orangutans disappearing? And then saving the orangutans. Yeah, interesting. All right, so let's go in. As we read today, one of the things that we'll be doing is kind of noticing all of this important information the way we did before. And we were noticing that, you know, there's lots of facts, lots of details, and what we have to do is put them together to think about some of those very important points with that. What we'll have you do today is just to, as you're reading, putting a sticky note when you think you've come across something that's a very important point for you. Head into chapter 1, have a read through, and the chapter is called What Are Orangutans? Have a read through that and see what kinds of things that you're noticing and the very important points. Just mark those for yourself. So let's talk about some of the things that you marked. Sam, you want to start us off? What were some of the things that you found that were very important ideas to you? And you all listen in and see if you agree. You may have marked the same place or something nearby.
It says that 8 and 9. It says that orangutans
Orangutans.
yeah, orangutans are like warm-blooded, and sometimes they're like humans because of their behaviors and stuff. And that's why they were called orangutans, like, and it means like person of the forest or something.
And why did you think that was so important?
Because like, it's like it was talking about the name of what the orangutan, their like names meant and what they were.
What did you think about that when you read that it was very close? It's a lot
was
like a
cool.
human. You thought that was kind of cool? All right. Anybody else mark that?
Me.
What did you think? Add into that idea, Taylor. Tyler. Where'd I get Taylor? I don't know. Tyler. Add into that thinking.
I found something kind of important, like right here, how it kind of adds on to Sam's thing, how like it says orangutans are mammals and as such they are warm-blooded, feed their young with young milk, and have hair. So it kind of points out that they're kind of like humans, like Sam said, how they're like warm-blooded, they're mammals and feed their young milk, like humans.
Okay.
Oh yeah, cause when humans are born, they also feed milk to their babies.
And remember when we were using the headings to help us to figure out different parts? We wanted to make sure that we were thinking about what that section was about. What was this home range section all about there? What was important in that?
It's kind of like where they can like hang out, forage for food, and kind of like live and nothing can bother them.
What was important about that home range that they have, that space where they live?
That nothing can bother them.
What'd you think, Rosen? What did you
It says right here like that they're not aggressive if other orangutans are in their home range.
And do they move around a lot? Do they stay in the same place? What's
Move around a lot to search for food.
okay? But is it kind of all over the rainforest or within just a spot in the rainforest?
It said
A certain
here.
part.
It said here they move constantly throughout this area looking for food. These home range are about 2 to 4 square miles in size and often overlap with the home ranges of their orangutans.
So remember how when we talked about sketching out a visual?
Yeah.
What would that look like? So is that the whole rainforest or is that just part of the rainforest?
I think it's part of the rainforest.
Okay, so if this is sort of the whole rainforest, each orangutan has a spot,
Yeah,
right? Has
I
sort of a place in
guess
there,
it's a square.
and sometimes they overlap some.
So
Yeah.
like some can like join together in one spot.
So now,
Their houses could be connected, and then
so that's their,
and just in case they could communicate to each other by just looking over.
Miss Deborah, did you read this book?
I did. I read it too, so I was just noticing your thinking there
like-
with that.
Why? Wait, are we gonna be like learning about why they can't like go somewhere else?
I think we might be learning that. Now, what did you find out in the introduction about what's happening to the rainforest? Because remember how we said we have to put different sections from the book together
I learned
to make it all make sense?
that
What's happening to the rainforest?
it's
Getting destroyed
All right.
by humans to clear out
all the
big areas.
So what happens if all of this part gets cleared out? What
Then that
happens?
means that this part of the animals are getting cleared out. So
yeah,
if
and
they're
then they could go find like another section of where they live, and then just I guess they could like get everything that they had and just rebuild it inside of their home, and so it could just look exactly the same how it was.
And so what happens if it keeps doing this?
then little by little, each
then
part
they'll-
of the rainforest where the monkeys live, they're gonna have like little species of them.
Maybe there's like bigger parts of the rainforest, like somewhere else that they could go that the humans didn't find, like go over there.
Oh, interesting.
If the whole rainforest goes down, the orangutans, gorillas, chimpanzees, the orangutan will have no home, and without the orangutans, nothing would exist. Not even another tree. But
So what did it talk about if what happens if these animals, these orangutans they're endangered already? What happens if they go extinct? What were some of the ideas that you
It
marked?
said that like it was somewhere in here, but it said that if they weren't here, that like some of the animals would die because of them, because they're their hope and stuff.
So where are you here?
It
Gardeners
says
of the
somewhere.
Forest, page 12.
Yeah.
So flip over to page 12. What did you highlight there? What did you tab? It's a very important point. On page 12 and 13.
go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go.
Okay, it said that there are only 2 rainforests in the world where orangutans still live in the wild, but on the islands of Sumatra and Borneo, that's where only like some of them live in different islands.
Yes, Sumatra, I think is how you said it. Sumatra and Borneo. Yeah. And so we've got these 2 rainforests where these animals live. And
It's
you were
because-
talking, Rosewanne, about how that there are other animals that are dependent on these animals. What did you guys find out about that? What is the
when
it says they're the gardeners of the forest?
I learned I learned that orangutans play an important role in the Earth life chain because, like, once they eat, they can actually like drop or leave seeds on the ground for them to grow, and that's why they're the gardeners of the forest.
Okay. And then go ahead. You found what you were looking for, Rosewanne?
It says right here, due to vital role that orangutans play in maintaining a healthy forest, many other animals would be endangered if orangutans became extinct.
Why would they become Why would other animals become extinct?
Because it says right here, like,
Maybe because go ahead, Frozen.
okay, it said that they eat the fruits and stuff, so they like they poop them out,
Yeah.
and then they grow new plants. So probably like the other animals eat the plants that they like made.
Totally makes sense.
Oh,
Sam, what do you
because
think?
like they're dropping the seed from their butt, and then it's probably like, growing whenever the seed is growing.
Yeah. Well, that's how it happens out in the forest with the animals, isn't it? Yeah.
That's
So they spread the
disgusting.
seeds around.
Wait, are these plants that they're like?
The
Pooping
the
out?
seeds are in there.
And
Yeah.
uh,
Okay. We'll get past the gross part.
but-
Let me take you to this next part.
But it's like what I was trying to ask is like,
Uh-huh.
are we eating those kind of plants?
Well, it still wouldn't be there on the plant. You're okay.
Yeah.
You're all right.
No,
You're okay.
Sometimes humans can also
No
eat
forever, no eat.
watermelon seed.
So we're not going to have that conversation right now. Thank you very
Let's
much.
just move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on.
So let me have you close your book up because you've done this really important reader work today.
That
like,
was
okay.
disgusting.
You're okay. So let me talk to you a little bit about what you did today as readers. So you were, as you were reading through this, noticing all these very important ideas. You were marking them. And then the other things that you were thinking about were how you had to put ideas from one part of the book with another part of the book to get the bigger ideas put together. Yeah.
An idea
And then
from a
sometimes
book
you
to
read it,
another.
and when other people start talking about it, you start figuring things out, because I kind of heard when some of us made sense out of that funny part of the book. You can't hold the
Are you
giggles anymore.
okay?
It is kind of one of those funny parts with the
When I
book.
find something out,
Yeah.
I wonder what that was.
Yeah. And then
That
when your
was
brain gets that, you
disgusting.
can't help it. Now that's
Ooh,
all you can think about, right?
You know how, like you said, from another part,
Uh-huh.
like from chapters? I have an idea from another book,
What's that idea?
Remember that other book that we did, like
The salmon?
in
About the salmon
Yeah.
stream?
Are the, like, if it said, like, that bears also eat plants, are the orangutans, like, eating the plants that they, like, make? Because I'm just curious, okay? I'm curious about
I
that.
can hear your curiosity coming out in that question. Yeah. So we may have to think about that, because that's exactly what happens as you begin reading. You begin to see these patterns of how things happen from book to book. So you're putting them together.